Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Renu Arora, former head Education and Training Division, CSIR NISCARE, New Delhi. The module that I am going to cover today is Planning and Administration of Public Libraries under the paper Public Libraries. Planning is deciding in advance what to do, how to do, when to do, and who is to do it. Planning involves decisions about the library objectives which are to be achieved in future and the way and the manner in which to achieve the same. Planning is an anticipatory theoretical activity which is undertaken to accommodate the future course of events. Any activity that is intended to cater to the present requirements may not adopt to the future, hence such activities have to be carried out in such a way that they respond to future occurrences. It is a known fact that without proper planning, the libraries, especially the public libraries, will not only remain poorly organized but ill-equipped too. The objectives of this particular module are to explain how to manage planning process in modern public libraries, determine appropriate tools for strategic planning. The next is to identify levels of planning, steps of planning, and advantages of planning. Then to know the factors in the environment that influence public library planning. And lastly, to distinguish between library organization and library administration and their role in public library. Here we will also try to learn the various elements of management and the various principles of management as given by several experts which are applicable in public libraries too. That is, even today these are applicable. Public library planning. Planning is considered as the basic management function. It is one of the most important and crucial functions of management. It is also an essential aspect of management process at all executive levels. Planning states how the goals or objectives of an organization are to be accomplished. Thus, it gives direction and meaning to libraries' various operations. Planning is deciding in advance what to do, how to do, when to do, and who is to do it. Planning involves decision about the library objectives which are to be achieved in future and the ways to achieve these objectives. Therefore, we can conclude from this that planning is the most important of the management functions, or rather we can say this is the basic function of modern management. Anything that we want to achieve in any activity in the library, planning has to be the starting point for it. Students, let's now learn the need for planning in public libraries. Like any other organization, planning in public libraries is also very important. In fact, whatever activity that we want to carry out, planning for that in advance really helps a lot. So let's see how and why we need planning in public libraries. Planning is an analytical process which involves an assessment of the future. It is the determination of desired objectives in the context of that future. The development of alternative courses of action to achieve such objectives is why we need to carry out planning. Planning also enables the selection of a course of action from amongst the alternatives so that we choose the best course of action. And planning is referred to as a process which takes an organization from where it is to where it wants to be in a given period of time. So therefore, for various activities of the library, especially the public library, planning is really vital, and planning could be for immediate future It could be for the next few months, it could be for the next year, or it could be a long-term planning which is for next few years, that is 3 to 4 years or even more. Objectives of planning. Planning provides a framework and direction to public library operations to guide decision making and problem solving. Planning helps to improve services, operations, and physical control through application of computer techniques and management science to information procedures. Planning ensures development of information services and resources. It permits anticipation of future resources which are needed for information services by establishing plans based on present decisions. And planning brings the skills and experience of the library staff members into planning process. Planning helps us to achieve what we want to do in the future. So it's a basic activity that we carry out before start of anything that we want to do in the future. All the services which have to be developed and resources which have to be acquired need to be thoroughly planned before starting the process or the procedure. Advantages of planning. Let's now examine advantages of planning. Planning increases the public library's ability to adopt future eventualities. Planning helps crystallize objectives of the library. Planning makes activities orderly and purposeful. This is due to the fact that unproductive work gets minimized, desired results get achieved. Planning reduces irrelevant activities as there are no overlaps. Planning also minimizes uncertainty in organizations. It ensures a relatedness amongst various decisions. It helps the public library remain more competitive in society. Besides these advantages, there are several other advantages of planning. These are: provides information for use in decision making. Planning provides a blueprint for future library development. It guides decision makers in setting necessary priorities. It also provides information for use in the allocation of resources. So basically, when we carry out planning, the chief advantage is that all the people working in the organization, they come together. They contribute towards planning. So therefore, planning is a coordinated effort, which is one of the biggest advantages of planning. Planning ensures a more productive use of library resources. Planning provides a basis for control. It increases effectiveness of library staff and improves employees' morale. Planning helps the public library to progress in a manner considered most suitable. This is because it points out need for future change and future possibilities. Planning offers options of selecting from alternatives. Planning helps in achieving economies, and also planning encourages innovation. So in other words, we can say that there are several plans available, and from amongst them we select the best possible alternative so that we are able to achieve our objectives. Besides this, the effectiveness of library staff helps to improve employees' morale. This leads to coordination and cooperation on part of the library staff. Guidelines for effective planning. The public libraries should be planned properly. Without planning, they will remain poorly organized and ill-equipped to meet the information requirements of their users. Planning not only gives proper direction to carry out various activities of the library, but also helps to take appropriate decisions in advance. In view of this, let's take a look at guidelines for effective planning. Firstly, it involves top management not only at key points in the whole organization but in the whole planning process. Secondly, it involves library staff at all levels while developing the plans. Thirdly, planning does not look for the perfect answer but tries to provide the perfect solution for any activity that is to be carried out. Planning should provide realistic targets and alternatives ways to achieve these targets. Plans should start on a small scale and should be expanded only when the library staff has learned the technique and has become convinced of their usefulness. In view of this, we can say that planning has to be carried out at all levels of management. At the lower level, it could be a small plan, at the middle level, a little bigger plan, and at the top level, the large plans could be carried out. And eventually, all the staff gets into the stream and they could be planning the various activities as and when required. Also, we should always start on a small scale and then later on the plans can be expanded. Factors in planning. Let's examine the several factors in planning. The first one is the time. With regard to time frame, there are two categories of plan, namely long range plan and short range plan. Long range plan is also referred to as strategic plan and short term plan also called annual or operational plan. These categories refer to the span of time over which the plan is effective, starting with the time when the plan is initiated and ending with the time when the objectives of the plan are actually measured for achievement. Secondly, collecting and analyzing data. This factor in planning includes systematic collection of data concerning the library or information center, its activities, operations, staff, use, and users over a given period of time, as well as the external environment which affects what the organization wants to do and the way it can do it. In other words, it is an analytical study of the whole organization and its operation. Thirdly, levels of planning. Traditionally, long-range planning has been carried out primarily by the upper levels of management, whereas short-term planning usually is conducted by supervisors or coordinators at the point of impact of services. In libraries and information centers that have planning committees or officers, and in smaller organizations, a hierarchical approach is abundant in favor of input from all levels and segments of the organization. Fourth factor is flexibility. Flexibility or adaptability in meeting changing needs is the essence of good planning. Flexibility applies to both short-term and strategic plan process. Any planning that is too rigid to accommodate change as it occurs is an exercise in futility. This is why it is important to review plans on a scheduled basis with the intent of revising priorities that might change over the short term, as well as identifying objectives that have been accomplished. Lastly, accountability. Accountability is a key to the future success. Accountability requires obligation and initiative to carry out established plans. For library managers, this means delegating authority and making individuals or teams responsible for achieving the plan's objectives once they have been established. Ultimately, however, the manager is accountable for the action or inaction towards the established goals. Let's now examine levels of planning. Levels of planning in libraries are usually determined according to the time dimension. More the time taken, larger will be the plan. Shorter the time duration means it will be a very small or operational plan. Levels of planning have been put in four categories in libraries. These are strategic plan, tactical plan, medium-term plan, and operational plans, and sanctions and transactions. Let's now examine each one of them. The first one, that is the strategic plan. These are also referred to as long-term plans. It means that plans which are for more than 5 years. For example, planning of a library building or expansion of a building or adding a complete wing or a complete section to a particular library, these are referred to as long-term plans or strategic plans because these take more time and these are usually carried out by the highest level of authority. Second one are the tactical plans, also referred to as medium-term plans. Medium-term plans are those which are for 1 year to 5 years. Many times, medium-term plans can be from 1 year to 3 years also. For example, when we carry out library automation, it may be completed in 1 year or 2 years, but the retrospective conversion of the library records, that means that of the complete library, it may take more than 2 to 3 years or even up to 5 years. So these are referred to as medium term plans. Thirdly, the operational plans. These are the short term plans, which means that plans for 1 month to 12 months or something like up to 1 year or maybe at times up to 1.5 years. As an example of an operational plan, for example, from today we can plan for the next year what we are going to do. Maybe some service is going to be revived or discontinued, or maybe some new service to be added. And lastly, operations and transactions. These are present day or day to day planning. For example, we might plan today what we are going to do tomorrow, or maybe next week, or something like within 1 month. So these are operations and transactions. So the four levels of planning can be seen in all aspects of library activities. Strategic planning. Strategic planning, also referred to as long-term planning. Strategic planning is a management tool to help the libraries to do better. It is used to determine mission, vision, values, goals, objectives, roles, and responsibilities, timeliness, etc. It is a disciplined effort to produce fundamental decisions and actions that shape and guide what the library is, what it does, and why it does, with a focus on the future. Strategic planning is only useful if it supports strategic thinking. Strategic planning is the basis for an effective organization. Due to all these reasons, strategic planning is being carried out by the top level of the management. And basically, this is the reason that all long range plans are always decided by the top level management. But the best idea is that strategic plans be broken up into some short term plans so that these could be effectively achieved. Steps of planning. The 6 steps of planning are situational analysis and determination of objectives. Here, whatever the current situation of the organization is analyzed, and then in view of that, objectives are determined or future objectives are also framed. Development of alternative goals and plans. This helps in going in for another course of action if the first plan goes haywire or it is realized that the original plan is not feasible. selection of best goal and plan. Many times, choosing the best goal or plan is the best option because there may be several alternatives which look good, but which is the best? That has to be based on some facts and figures, etc. Plan implementation. The most vital step of planning is plan implementation because unless and until the plan is implemented, we cannot know whether we are going to achieve or not. Monitor and control. Regular monitoring and controlling the situation helps to carry out planning in a proper manner. For this, review of the situation has to be taken at future intervals. For example, if it is a long-term plan, then review every year is required and corrective action can be taken. For a medium-term plan, every 6 months or every 4 months, it could be reviewed and corrective action be taken. For short-term plans, every month or every fortnight, examination of the situation is required and thus control mechanism can be put in place. And lastly, the follow-up action. This is required the very moment that some follow-up action is required from the very moment that some problem within the implementation of plan is noticed. So this helps to make corrective actions. Students, let's now take a look at areas of planning. In fact, the public libraries have several areas of planning, but however, in the modern public libraries, these areas of planning have undergone a drastic change. The different areas of planning as we can view in the modern times are, firstly, the modern public library has to be multifunctional. So therefore, planning also has to be carried out in that context. Secondly, the modern public library has to be comfortable because gone are the days when the library used to be just a storehouse of organization and administration. An institution or enterprise is established with the aim of attaining certain determined objectives. But how and who is to achieve these? For this, an organizational structure is raised, an administrative machinery is created, and management authority is appointed. With this in view, organization and administration is to be understood. Organizing is a process of doing work or making arrangement for work, while organization is a structure in which the work takes place. It is easy for one to separate organization from management and administration, but it is difficult to bring a distinction between management and administration, as these two terms are closely interwoven. So, we have seen that there is a definite relation between organization, administration, and management. And organization and administration can be two aspects which can be clearly demarked, but management and administration are two terms which are very close to each other. Management versus administration. Let's know the difference between management and administration in an organization. Administration is defined as the one which predetermines the specific goals and lays down the broad areas within which the goals are to be achieved. It is a determinative function within an enterprise and is the primary responsibility of top management. On the other hand, management directs the active operations within the organization and combines the work of the staff with the available capital, equipment, and materials to produce an acceptable product. The terms management and administration are therefore so closely related to one another that some management experts do not separate these terms and instead address management as operative management and administration as administrative management. Some experts also identify two distinct functions of an enterprise to be performed. For example, the administrative or policy determining function and the management or executive or doing function. Management of public libraries is also very vital. So, in view of this, let's now examine public library administration. In fact, management and administration are two terms which at times are used interchangeably, and many of us we don't know actually the difference between management and administration. We use these terms interchangeably. However, these are at two completely different levels of the organization. Administration frames the objectives and policies of an organization. Management, on the other hand, implements these policies and objectives. So, the administration is at the top level of the organization with the decisive functions. Management is responsible for determining the policies and objectives of the organization, or you can say the public library. And management, on the other hand, is the middle level executive or the middle level professional in the library who carries out the different functions. So, they implement the policies and objectives as decided by the administration. So, in the modern times, the public libraries have to be administered in a proper manner. We have to bring in the modern principles of management, the policies of management, etc., to administer the public libraries in a better manner. Fayol's 14 Principles of Management. Although several management experts have given out principles of management, but for libraries and information organizations, Fayol's principles are considered to be most applicable. Fayol believed that managerial practices were the key to predictability and efficiency in organizations. Many of Fayol's 14 principles and practices are still alive in today's workplace. Fayol believed that managerial practices were the key to predictability and efficiency in organizations. The administrative theory views communication as a necessary ingredient to successful management, and many of Fayol's practices are still alive today. The elements and principles of management can be found in modern organizations in several ways, as accepted practice in some industries, as revamped versions of the original principles or elements, or as remnants of the organization's history to which alternative practices and philosophies are being offered. Let's take a look at Fayol's 14 principles of management. Firstly, division of work. Division of work means that all the people working in an organization should be given equitable work. Equitable means that depending on their level in the organization and their capacity, work should be equally divided. Secondly, authority and responsibility. Fayol believed that wherever responsibility is given, authority should also be given, because without responsibility, a person cannot work, and if there is no authority, responsibility cannot be performed. Thirdly, discipline. Discipline refers to discipline of the organization. Every organization should have certain rules and regulations which should be adhered to, and all the people working in the organization should work in a disciplined manner. Fourthly, unity of command. Unity of command means that there should be one and only one boss. If a person is managed by more than one boss or more than one manager, the work cannot be performed. So every person should have only one and only one boss to whom he or she is responsible. Fifth, unity of direction. Unity of direction means that whatever direction in which the organization is moving, the personnel working in the organization should also work in the same direction. Or in other words, all the people working in an organization should have same direction. It's not be at cross directions. Next is subordination of individual to organizational interest. This refers to the fact that when a person comes to work in an organization, his or her own interest should be at the second level or subordinate. The first and the foremost thing that anyone should do is take care of the organization's interest, and then only the individual's interest has to come. Next is remuneration. Remuneration refers to the pay and salary, etc. If someone is working in an organization, should be suitably rewarded or remunerated for that. So people have to have pay parity and other related aspects. The rest of the principles given by Fayol are: firstly, centralization. Centralization refers to the fact that in every organization there should be complete centralized authority. It means that if there are several people heading an organization, there may be problems. So there should be one person who is at the top of the organization and all others reporting the head of the organization. Next is scalar chains. Scalar chain refers to the fact that there should be some kind of departmentation or there should be hierarchy in organizations. For example, if there is a top person, there could be few deputies under the top person. Let's say the top person is a director. So there could be 2 or 3 deputy directors under the director, and then the rest of the staff can be below the deputy directors. So in this way there will be a chain of command or there will be hierarchy in an organization. Next is order. Order refers to the very fact that all the activities have to be carried out in an orderly manner, and for this the higher authorities have to issue directions to the staff members so that all the work is done in an orderly manner. Next is equity. Equity refers to the aspect that all the people, all the human beings are equal. There is no class, creed, or any difference amongst people. Everyone working at the top or the middle or the lower level requires the desired respect due to the individual. So even those working at the lowermost level have to be treated at par with others as far as the facilities of the organization are concerned. Next is stability of tenure. Fayol believed that unless and until people are offered permanent jobs in an organization, they will not perform. Because if a person is not sure of his being staying in the organization for a longer time, that person will not contribute towards the welfare of the organization. So the people who are employed should be ensured that their job is permanent or for longer durations. Next is initiative. Initiative refers to the aspect that all the people working in an organization should be given a free hand as far as their talent, abilities, capabilities are concerned. Because initiative leads to a person's not only well-being but also progress in life, progress in the profession, and so on and so forth. And lastly, team spirit or esprit de corps. As a Frenchman, Fayol believed that people should work in teams. That means there should be complete coordination and cooperation between people when they come to work in an organization. And therefore, he gave the French expression esprit de corps. We have seen the principles given by Fayol. Let's take a look at elements of management as given by Gulick and Urwig. These are also referred to as 7 steps in the administrative process. This is popularly referred to as post-COB. These 7 elements of management are considered to be the core of management process. Let's take a look at the elements of management. First one, planning. Planning is working out in broad outline the activities that need to be done and the methods for doing them to accomplish the purpose set for the organization. Second one, organizing. Organizing is the establishment of the formal structure of authority through which various sections or divisions of the organization are arranged, defined, and coordinated for the defined objectives. Third one, staffing. Staffing is the whole personnel function of bringing in, training the staff, and maintaining favorable conditions at work. Fourth is directing. It is the continuous task of making decisions and embodying them in specific and general order. It involves giving instructions by the top personnel and serving as the leader of the library. Coordinating. Coordinating is the all-important duty of interrelating the various aspects of work in an organization. And lastly, reporting. Reporting is keeping those to whom the librarian is responsible informed as to what is going on. It includes keeping authorities, subordinates, and users informed through records, reports, etc. To these 7 elements of management or 7 steps of management, we can add another one, the 8th function of management, that is communication. Communication is very vital in the modern times because communication helps us to interact not only with our higher authorities but with our own level as well as our lower staff as well. In this module, we have discussed the various aspects related to planning in public libraries. So, we have seen why do we need planning in public libraries. As you have already been told, planning takes an organization from where it is to where it wants to be. So, planning basically is our starting point for doing any activity. So, in view of this, we have identified the steps of planning. In planning, several aspects are related. For example, we can talk about policy making, we can talk about the big term, long term plans, etc. Forecasting is also a form of planning, although forecasting is something which is based on the future requirements of an organization. Then we have discussed the areas of planning. In fact, each and every area of library, may it be the personnel, may it be the finances, may it be the other aspects, we need to carry out planning. Then we have tried to differentiate between organization, administration, and management in the context of public libraries. In fact, in the context of public libraries, we have to see that the management principles are adhered to. Management principles as given by some bigwigs like Henry Fayol and other experts have to be followed. And lastly, we have explained how to carry out public library administration. The other details with regard to the management principles, then the different elements of management as given by Urvik and Gullik, etc., are explained in your e-text. And references, etc., are also given in your course material for you to study further. Thank you.